Episode 386. At 7 o'clock the next morning, Yishu clocked out. The dungeon record for Sin City on the 10th server remained exactly as it was at 1 o'clock. Bluebrook Guild, Misty Rain Tower, and Tyrannical Ambition were all putting in the effort, but none of them managed to break through the existing records. Then on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th days, Bluebrook Guild started posting results. Some were record-breaking announcements. These new records were all pretty close, just minor fluctuations above or below the old ones. But Misty Rain and Tyrannical Ambition, who were already lagging behind, found themselves falling even further back. Ever since the level 20 dungeons in the 10th server, the competition for records has been a bloody, no-holds-barred fight. Whether it was between the guilds or with Lord Grim in the mix, each dungeon saw a relentless, ever-escalating wave of record-breaking attempts. This time, it was Bluebrook Guild putting on a one-man show. The other guilds looked completely defeated, leaving Bluebrook to amuse itself all alone. From the first day the top record was set until the 4th day passed, the top 10 spots for the Sin City Underground Prison Dungeon. Beyond the top 10, Tyrannical Ambition and Misty Rain's records had also seen minor breakthroughs. Clearly, both guilds' strategy research was making progress, but it hadn't yet reached its limit. Their records still lagged some distance behind Bluebrook Guild's. Meanwhile, the top players on the 10th server had already crossed the level 40 threshold. Bluebrook Guild had made a name for itself in the Sin City dungeon, getting a real taste of the sweet rewards that come with being at the forefront of dungeon tech. The moment they hit level 40, they were already itching to take on the new dungeon. The first thing to do was to go and discuss the new dungeon strategy with EAQ. Great God! Blue River immediately sent a worship emoji.
The materials are all gathered. How should I get them to you?
Blue River was referring to the materials he'd bought out last time. After 4 days, Bluebrook Guild had finally gathered all the materials Yaexiu had listed from Blazing Forest.
Just mail it to me.
Yashu said this. In the game, you could mail anything through the in-game mailbox, except for other players.
Oh, right. And, the other thing.
The Thousand Waves Lake Dungeon Guide, right?
Of course.
Blue River was nervous, worried that Yaexiu might give some unexpected answer. But what he saw was a list of materials. A quick glance told him many looked familiar. They were all from Sin City.
What are the terms for this buyout?
Blue River glanced over the list of items. They're far from complete. Neutral Sin City's been farmed for a few days now, but the problem is there aren't many teams running it. Each squad only gets 3 attempts a day, and they have to get lucky with hidden bosses, so the material output just hasn't reached a critical mass yet. But considering his past dealings with Yaexiu, Blue River figured the exact number wasn't a problem. He knew he wouldn't welch, and the other party trusted him implicitly, so he got straight to the point. What's the buyout price?
Thinking about buying it out again? This time, it's 10 times the price.
10 times. Honestly, that was a price Blue River wouldn't find too surprising. After all, this dungeon strategy represented the primary means of production. Selling a dozen or so copies would be no problem at all. To save time, selling to just one buyer and slashing the price from over 10-fold down to a mere 10 times the original. But for Blue River, who had already tasted the sweet deal of a low price, hearing the cost was now 10 times higher was a real letdown. Paying 10 times the price for a piece of advanced tech, just to chase another dungeon record, that's a bit steep. Blue River was starting to get a feel for Yaexiu's personality. He didn't even bother trying to argue, and simply replied.
Oh, I'll take one.
Alright, still a buyout?
Yeshu asked.
No, just a regular one will do.
Alright, I'll package it up and send it to your inbox right away.
Blue River felt a bit bewildered. Why did he suddenly feel like he was ordering takeout? Lost in thought, he opened his email. Yeshu was quick. The guide arrived in his inbox, and Blue River wasted no time. He pulled it up and immediately gathered a team to study it. Now that we've got the dungeon tech, we need to master it fast and turn it into our primary advantage. While Lanxi Pavilion was busy at work, Misty Rain Tower wasn't idle either. 4 days. They spent 4 whole days and still couldn't crack the most technically demanding strategy. They hadn't lost confidence yet, but with development techniques this far behind, they simply couldn't be relied on in the high-stakes, fast-paced competition of dungeon runs. So, after reaching level 40, Misty Rain's Kang Kang wasted no time rushing over to buy the guide. He took it back to use as a tech upgrade, and also to study it like a textbook. The most conflicted party was Tyrannical Ambition. Zhang Yu's 4 days of research had mirrored Misty Rain's efforts, always just one step away from the final breakthrough. Frustrated, and they'd been stuck on that Sin City strategy the whole time. Cold Night River Crossing didn't dare disturb them. So, just like that, they watched as everyone hit level 40, and Sin City still wasn't cracked, and the new Thousand Wave Lake dungeon hadn't even been looked at yet. Because of his unique connection to Yeqiu, Zhang Yu was truly caught between a rock and a hard place, unsure of what to do next. As for the other guilds, like Herb Garden, they weren't fools either. Over 4 days, they'd managed to gather some intel. They weren't caught flat-footed at all, and had already started moving in on Lord Grimm's position. Yeqiu, for his part, was quietly selling his strategies. To those who tried to probe him for information about other guilds, he was utterly watertight. However, even the major guilds had very limited supplies of high-level, rare materials at the moment. So, Yeqiu only offered those advanced, rare materials to a trustworthy guild like Blue Brook, letting them pay him back later. For those less familiar or less reliable guilds, he had to provide a list of materials they currently possessed. For any shortfall, they could substitute with other materials of equivalent value. In the blink of an eye, Yeqiu had sold 10 copies of his Thousand Wave Lake Dungeon Guide. The vast majority were paid for with materials up front, netting him a massive windfall in an instant. The guilds naturally began to study and analyze the strategies they'd acquired. The competition for the Thousand Waves Lake Dungeon record had been fierce since level 40. Now, the 10 guilds who'd bought the guide took turns on the leaderboard, the records changing hands like a revolving door. A glance between them was all it took. They all understood what was going on. To make sure their materials weren't wasted, they naturally had to grind even harder. While Tyrannical Ambition was still stewing over their dilemma, they happened to glance at the leaderboards. Oh no, this is bad. The top 10 guilds had already left the general player base far behind, and their Tyrannical Ambition guild was on the verge of being completely lost in the crowd. After a moment of gritting his teeth, Zhang Yu finally had no choice but to relent.
Forget it. He's already retired. What's the point of holding a grudge? Go buy a copy of the guide.
Nightchill had been itching to act. Seeing Zhang Yu finally come around, he didn't care about saving face. Without another word, he immediately contacted Lord Grimm. Yeqiu's response was just as direct. You want the guide? Then pay the materials. No exceptions.